All right, welcome back. Again, this is Introduction to Azure. I'm Rob, and I'm going to be your instructor. Welcome to Module 2, where we're going to go over cloud fundamentals. Again, if you're not sure what a cloud is, if you're looking for that introduction to what clouds are even, and how you can use them in your everyday life, this is for you. All right, so what are we going to go over in this module? Well, first and foremost, what is a cloud? All right. We're then going to go over some basic terms. These are probably going to be buzzwords you've heard, and we're going to make sure we define that as simply as possible. All right. Then we're going to go over the types of clouds. And then finally, we're going to go over our cloud service models. All right. So we're going to start with milk, and then we're going to slowly develop until we can chew on some steaks. All right. So, what is the cloud? Normally when we think of clouds, we think of those nice fluffy things in the sky that we lay down on the grass and try to guess what they look like. The cloud is a collection of resources that we can access remotely, all right? So they're not going to be right next to us. So right now, I've got my computer. It's right below my desk. All right, that's perfect. It's right here. Now, if I wanted to access a file, let's say another PowerPoint presentation like the one we're looking at now, and it was at your house on your computer and I was able to access it over the internet or being directly wired, that would be an example of a cloud. If you remember the good old days back in the early 2000s where you would have LAN parties with your friends on your Xbox, that's another example of a cloud. All right, so we're just accessing other resources, whether those are computers, files, or we go into more depth with other products. That is basically your cloud. We have different aspects in the cloud. So we have our compute. Again, these are going to be like our virtual machines, having that computer somewhere else. All right, not here with us. We have our networking. This is going to be that connection between our various resources to make sure that they can talk together. Because if I've got VM1 and VM2 on different sides and they can't talk to each other, what good is that, right? If I can't, if I want to go hang out with my friends and work together on a project and I can't call them, I can't write to them, I can't communicate in any way, shape, or form, kind of useless, right? So networking is a fundamental part of our cloud. Storage, another equally important aspect. All right, because if we don't have a place to put our stuff, it's like an empty apartment, right? It's nice, it keeps away the storms, but it's just carpet, right? Really bad shag carpet and a couple walls. Storage will make it feel more of a home. We get to keep our files. We get to keep logs and information. And again, it's not physically here. It's somewhere else, and we don't necessarily have to worry about it. And then we have analytics. This is when we start getting to the cool stuff, all right? So with analytics, this is when I can take all that information we've processed, and I can get some information about it. So during these hard times of COVID-19, we see people walking in and out of different stores. We can use analytics to find when we have these peaks and make sure that we can ensure greater social distancing or something of that nature. If you're a car manufacturer, you can see how efficiently your machines are operating and where you can increase that efficiency. So again, with compute, networking, storage, and analytics, put them together and boom. Just like the Mighty Power Rangers, you have yourself an awesome cloud that you can use to increase the efficiency of your organization or just for yourself. All right. So now everybody, we all love vocabulary. We're going to go over some of those key terms. So if you were feeling kind of nervous about everything going on in the cloud world, you weren't really sure of some of these buzzwords, we're going to go over the basics. So again, if you don't have that background, don't worry. We're going to take it nice and slow. All right. So let's go over our first one, high availability. All right. Now, all this means is that our product is going to be there for us as often as possible, right? So high availability. I know, crazy English stuff here. So we're going to measure this high availability in how often a product or a resource is able to be accessed. We measure that in the number of nines. So for example, if a product is 99.9% available, that means at most we're going to expect 8 to 9 hours of downtime over the course of a single year. All right, doesn't mean it'll necessarily happen, but with high availability, we're just trying to ensure that our products are going to be there as frequently as possible with minimal to no downtime in between. Next, we have security. All right. Now, when we think of security, we think of, the mall cops, with their little radios here. They've got their little segways going down. Or we think of, those big army guys in the movies with, just standing there stone-faced. While that is a part of security, the physical aspect, we're talking more about also network and application security. We want to make sure that when we've got Tom Cruise coming in, tapping on his keyboard, and 2 seconds later he's like, I'm in. We don't want that. We want to protect ourselves against those very kinds of attacks. Then we've got scalability. All right, so scalability means that I can go out. All right, so just like after Thanksgiving, you need to scale out your belt so you can feel more comfortable. All right, that's what we're doing with our resources. If you have a single resource and it's just being taxed and overworked, we got to help them so we can scale out and create more of the same kind. Or, get ready for this one, we can scale up. And when we scale up, what we're doing is we're making it stronger. All right, we're making it better. So, again, going off of a basic computer, scaling up means instead of 4 gigabytes of RAM, maybe we have 8. Maybe instead of 500 gigabytes of space, maybe we have a terabyte. That's what we're doing when we're scaling up. We're making our machine better. And again, if we were going out, we'd have the same machine, all right, but we'd have multiple versions, we'd have multiples of it, all right? So that's going to be our scalability. Next, we have our predictive cost considerations. All right, that's a couple of different words there. All right, predictive. All right, that means we can guess with a fair amount of accuracy how much our resources in Azure are going to cost. All right. So if I'm going in and saying, okay, I'm going to build a database, and I know I need, I have 1,000 instances of Microsoft SQL, and I want to bring my physical servers over here into Azure, we can say, okay, well, assuming you're using this much storage and assuming you need this many instances, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. And we can say, okay, I can budget for that. And if our workload is consistent, we can be fairly sure our cost is going to be $1,000 a month or whatever that price point may be. All right, we don't have to guess and say, ooh, I wonder what my phone bill is going to be this week. No need to worry about that. All right, we know with Azure, it's going to be fairly consistent. And with that consistency, we also want to make sure that we have coverage, right? Because what's the point of having a cloud if I can't reach my next door neighbors? That's silly, right? So with Azure and with most cloud providers, we're going to have this idea of global reach. If any of you guys are familiar with any social media platforms, you can get stuff from China, you can get stuff from Australia, from France, from Canada, from the US, right? All right here. And that's no different with Azure. We can reach anywhere in the world. We have different data centers, something we'll go over, all over the world. All right? And in fact, Azure has more data centers than anyone else. And so if you've got customers in Korea, if you've got customers all the way in Timbuktu, it doesn't matter. We're going to make sure that you can reach all of your customers no matter where they are. All right, then we have elasticity. Oh, hold on a second, Rob. You told us there was scalability, and scalability, elasticity, that kind of seems like the same thing, right? Because scalability was going out. So then what the heck is elasticity? Let me tell you, friends, elasticity is the ability to expand and contract. So if I have my own data center, right, my own private cloud, if I buy 1,000 computers because I anticipate that's what my peak is, that's it. I'm kind of stuck there until my boss says I can buy more. And then I'm stuck. If we underperform, I still own all those computers. Uh-oh. But in the cloud, especially in Azure, we can create resources when we need them and deallocate or get rid of them as we also need to. All right? We're not stuck in a certain time with certain things. We don't need to do that. If it's Black Friday and you get a huge uptick in sales and people visiting your website to get the best deal possible, guess what? We're going to meet that demand. We're going to be ready for them. And then when it's done, all right, and it's the December 26th and everybody's tapped out with spending, we can scale back. We can scale back and be ready for the next wave when it comes. But until then, we can run without spending a ton of extra money. All right. Now, with that idea of having a lot of people coming, fault tolerance. All right. We want to make sure that we're ready, that we can bend without breaking. All right. We want to ensure that if our servers get overwhelmed, we have a way to react. All right. If virtual machine 1 goes down, we want to make sure that we have backups for that, right? We want to make sure that when something fails, because something will always fail, always plan on failure. Unlike in life, in the virtual world, plan on failure. All right, and fault tolerance with those plans will make sure that when the failures happen, we can keep going. All right, we don't have to worry. That being said, we can't always prevent everything. So there's disaster recovery. Disaster recovery means if a giant meteor comes down and just takes out communications for a while, we have a plan to get our resources back. All right? We have a plan to be able to recover those assets. All right. Now let's go into part 2. All right. This one is definitely a big buzzword, especially in the networking world. Latency. All right. So we're going to think of latency as Usain Bolt, right? The faster, the better. This is how we're moving information and how fast that information is moving. All right. So kind of like in golf, the lower the score, the better. If I have high latency, that means instead of getting Usain Bolt, I've got Grandpa Simpson, walking on his walker, slowly getting to me. And if you're like me, if a website takes more than a couple of seconds, heck, like 3 seconds, I get angry and I close out. I don't want to wait. Your customers are the same way. So when we improve our latency, we're improving how quickly our customers can get access to the information we provide. All right? And data is money. Faster data is faster money. All right, then we have this idea. This is operational expenditure. Okay. I get operations, right? Like going and doing and, acting in the way that we need to behave. And then expenditure. Okay, well, spending money, get that. Operational expenditure means I pay for stuff when I need it. All right? This is a cool idea. So let's take a real world example. Growing up, I had, 50 VHSs. They were awesome. All right? And I had to buy each one, my parents, they had to buy each one of those VHSs, right? So they went to the store, they paid their $10, $15, $20, and we built up this awesome collection. And then when DVDs came by, we had to upgrade. And so then we had to go buy DVDs. But then there was this online streaming platform. I could have all the movies I want in a single location, and I just had to pay for what I wanted. And it wasn't much. I didn't get to own the movies, but as long as I paid this monthly subscription, I had access to every movie I could possibly want, or TV shows I could possibly want. So with operational expenditure, I just pay for the VMs I'm using. I just pay for the networking that I'm using. I just pay for the storage I'm using. And guess what? If I stop using it, I stop paying for it. All right? Most billing for compute resources happens per second. Storage happens per gigabyte. All right? Most of your analytics is per 1,000, per million requests. All right? I don't have to pay for stuff I'm not using. That's awesome. All right. So then we have our customer latency capabilities. Okay. Let's roll it back a little bit. Okay. I know what latency is, remember? That's Usain Bolt of information, right? It's going to get to me as quickly as possible. So what is customer capabilities? All right. So now this is my ability, or my customer's ability, to get information quickly. How do we do that, Rob? Well, we have great products like our content delivery networks, or CDNs, that can help ensure that resources are brought to your customers more quickly. All right, an example of this. I've got a big old warehouse full of construction equipment. All right. And then I've got you at home. Well, this warehouse is kind of far from everybody. It's just this big old honking warehouse. So what I do is I make these itty bitty stores all over the place. So you have to go just to this itty bitty store that's next door instead of driving 5 hours to hit that big warehouse. And boy, howdy, I'm willing to bet all of y'all are going to go down to the store that's just next door instead of driving for 5 hours to get the tools you need and want. All right, so then we have this, again, we're going back to this operational expenditure idea with the consumption-based model. All right, so consumption, right? Eating, drinking, consuming, right? All right, so based on that, our model is if you use something in Azure, you pay for it. If you don't use it, you don't pay for it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? All right. So that's going to be our consumption-based model. Then we have agility. Okay, well, Rob, we talked about latency. That seemed kind of fast. What's agility? Agility is our ability to create or delete or remove our resources like that. All right? We want to ensure that we can create our resources quickly. So when you get that Black Friday rush and your resources need to expand, well, we don't have to wait for Jimbo to, plug in a computer, boot it up, get it all ready. No, none of that. We don't have to worry about that. We want our resources to respond quickly. And so as soon as that wave hits of Black Friday, boom, we have 1,000 more servers ready to go to meet our customers' demand, and we don't lose money. And that seems like a win-win to me. All right. And then last but certainly not least, we have capital expenditure. All right. So we talked about operational expenditure, and that was me paying for that service, that streaming service. Capital expenditure is the opposite. That's me buying those DVDs. That's me buying those VHSs and then having to upgrade to those DVDs, right? So capital expenditure is me buying my own computers, right? I have my own keyboards, my own mice. I have my own stuff. And I pay for it. It's mine. And I have to pay to maintain it and to keep it up. But it's mine. That's going to be our capital expenditure. All right. Now, if you missed any of these terms, we do have flashcards that are available that will help you so you can go through these terms and just understand them more. All right. Getting to know, if you have any questions with any of these, go over these again. If you don't understand these terms, you will have a very hard time as we continue forward, because these are basic assumptions in the cloud world. Knowing these are just assumed knowledge. All right. So make sure we study these. We know what they are. We know what they do. And we know some of the applications of all of these terms.